Hello, friends. This is John Clem, third of episode 176 of Shadow and Flame with Magic. And today we're going to review Psylocke issue 7, then deep dive into New Avengers Finale, and then talk about the rest of the comics of last week. So let's get into it. And Psylocke 7 was my comic of the week last week. Still guest starring Magic and Rogue as they um, get assistance from Death Dream, who gets taken over by the ghost that's hunting Psylocke. So that's not great. Rogue was right to be mad at those two Alaskan X-Men. There's a great panel. It's like 3 or 4 pages where there's no magic, and then finally Psylocke's like, "Where's magic?" in a great panel, and then the next page, like magic finally shows up. And so I really appreciate like the timing of like, "Where is she?" And it was like, "We hear you, dear reader. It's been too many pages. She's been missing." And so, yeah, it was a pretty great issue. Everyone seemed like they were in character, and just, a great time was had. Oh, and then we learned more about Grey Crow. No, not more about Grey Crow, but Psylocke's tech gal, whose name escapes me. And she's bonding with Grey Crow, like talking about how Psylocke, like just her origins, how she was rescued from AIM by Psylocke, and now she helps her out. And then at the end of the issue, they don't understand who the ghost is who's chasing Psylocke, but she feels like she remembers her from her childhood. And then she comes home to Grey Crow's cabin in Alaska, which at first I was like, why does he live in Alaska? But I'm like, oh, because she lives in Alaska and he's close to her. And I was like, that's pretty nice. I am curious. I want to see how far away from the factory is he. But then she shows up saying that she has a new case of the tech gal, and so she can't stay long and she has to leave, which of course. Tech Girl and Forge are like, oh, she just lied to you, buddy. And he's like, well, I'm sure it's for a good reason. As we see Psylocke on her head back to her childhood home. So, yeah, pretty great issue. And then New Avengers Finale, which I believe was Brian Michael Bendis's big finale of New Avengers before everything rebooted or relaunched, I should say. And this comic came out in those comics where it's in the back. June 2010, it would have cost you $4.99, and it's rated A, which does that stand for adult or anybody? That's curious. And this is written by Brian Michael Bendis, pencils Brian Hitch and Stuart Immelman, inkers is Butch Geist, who we lost 2 Fridays ago now. Um, which I grabbed this for the Century page, but there is, well, we'll get to it, but. Andrew Geary and Carl Story are the other inkers. Colors are Paul Mounts, who actually gets his name on the cover, which is nice. Rarely does the colorist um, make a cover. With Justin Ponser and Rain Barrero, and letters Chris Elopoulos. And, oh yeah, and there came a day unlike any other, when Earth's mightiest heroes found themselves united against a common threat. On that day, the Avengers were born to fight the foes no single superhero could withstand. The new Avengers. The Avengers are on the run until they can be sure who's on their side. Spider-Man, Captain America, Luke Cage, Ronan, Mockingbird, and this Captain America is the Bucky one. Spider-Woman and Miss Marvel are using Captain America's hideout in Brooklyn as a safe house. Collectively, they try to keep the values of the Avengers' names alive, even though they're living on the wrong side of the law. The mighty Thor, god of thunder, has recently returned to Earth and brought the golden city of Asgard and all the gods who called it home with him. Asgard floats just feet above the fields of Broxton, Oklahoma. To coaxing of Thor's brother Loki, Osborn aims his sights on Asgard. After manufacturing an incident that gave him an excuse to invade, Norman does, in full force, backed by his Dark Avengers. The corrupted criminal initiative teams and conventional Hammer forces, and in front of the invited world media, enraged at Osborn's actions, a newly resurrected Captain America, Steve Rogers, assembles the fractured heroes to battle Osborn's forces. The triumphant over Norman's siege of Asgard, hence the crossover titled Siege. The Avengers have reunited, and Steve Rogers is now in charge of United States security. All of this was not without greatest cost. Many heroes lost their lives, and the great city of Asgard has fallen to the earth. And so, if you want to follow along, I uploaded videos on my YouTube and TikTok channels at Jacko SII. I'm gonna post, I guess, one image from this thing on the podcast, the socials at SNFWM and spelled out. And um, inside cover ads for Iron Man 2, the video game, which is coming out, or the movie's coming out. There's an editor note here saying, "Warning: read Siege 4 before this book," which I think I read when it first came out, but I have not revisited. And I don't quite. And the X-Men are barely in this thing, and I do confuse this with not Original Sin, not Sin's Past, with Fear itself, because it was just a big crossover. I don't know. It was during that era where like every year guaranteed a crossover, which I feel like maybe is still the case, but I'm not following nearly as many of them. But we see Madame Mask talking to her father, Uncanny X-Cast favorite, Count Nefaria, who is willing to help his daughter, but he wants all the money she has to do so, as it's expensive. We see footage of Norman Osborn with green face paint as he's freaking out. Jessica Jones is taking care of her and Luke Cage's daughter, Danielle, who seems like a toddler being fed a bottle, which, I don't know, that seems very old. And then Jessica Jones gets a phone call from Luke, and we get a dramatic page turn of just a double page splash because it's a Bendis comic. We like to use double page splashes, or at least a double page format, which I like and sort of miss these days. But we see just destruction of Oklahoma as Iron Man's there, Steve Rogers, Captain America, Thor, Miss Marvel, the Carol one. They're concerned that they're still technically fugitives and that they need to escape, but there's so much wreckage that Luke feels compelled to help out. Steve shows up and tells them that the president wants to talk to him, so they're not under arrest at the moment. The Wrecker and the Wrecking Crew and various other villains walk up to the new Avengers saying that they hate the Hood and know where he should be, as he betrayed them. They made the losers out of them, and so yeah, they wouldn't mind if the Hood got some street justice. So the new Avengers get the Hood's cousin to set up a meeting, and then the Hood wants to get powered up again because that's when he's at his greatest strength. And so Counterfire is going to just give him the powers that he has, which is a combination of other powers, and then the Hood will be back to being a global threat again. Luke Cage takes a moment to make a phone call as he wants to do this smart. Carol's tricking Counterfire to blasting her of his ionic powers, which she absorbs and makes a reference to how people make that mistake all the time of forgetting that's one of her powers and then shoots it back at him, which he's like, "I'm immortal." And Cage is like, "Well, then you should survive this." As we get a great splash page of Wolverine showing up and just slicing and dicing as he does. And then Kara shows up and puts another whammy on Count Nefaria, ripping off where he blows up all of his clothes, it looks like. So that's interesting. And then the Hood tries to rub some salt in the wound about how they took down the Kingpin, which left a power vacuum, and now the Hood took it. And now that they took the Hood down, it's just going to create another vacuum, and then what's going to happen? And then Steve calls them saying that they have news, and the Superhuman Registration Act has been thrown out. Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, replaces Norman Osborn as America's top cop. So he is now the new Nick Fury. They're going to not have so many secrets in the community anymore. And so Mockingbird wants to know, what do we do now? And Luke Cage starts a pretty fun speech, or a nice speech, but we get it done with very fun splash page, double page spread? That's a damn good question. I've been thinking about it ever since we all got together. I think what we are doing this for, yeah, I know why we fight. I'm not talking about the fight. And we get some David Finch art from the Echo storyline. I know there are just some things guys like us are going to have to deal with in this world, because if not us, who else? I am fine with, more than fine with. It's an honor. Then we get the double page splash by Stephen McNiven, where the Sentry came out and he sees all the assembled heroes of Namor, Shield, the Fantastic Four, the new Avengers, including Spider-Woman, Iron Man, Wolverine, Luke Cage, Captain America, Spider-Man, Astonishing X-Men with Emma, Cyclops, Beast, Colossus, and of course Kitty Pryde. Doctor Strange and the Inhumans, Medusa, Black Bolt, Gorgon, and Karnak. Oh, and Lockjaw, of course. And so that's why I bought this issue, even though it's a clear reprint of another page sequence, but why not? But things get pretty crazy on us pretty fast, even for us crazy. Then they got downright surreal, right? Surreal to the point where we didn't know what the world was going to be like when it was all over. But still, we fought the fight, which is also a fun legacy of Bendis. I'm pretty sure he was involved in, yeah, all of these so far. And then we get a double page splash of Oliver Coipel's House of X. Nope. House of M. But no Kitty Pryde on this thing. I've looked all over the place. We get Nightcrawler and Cyclops though, so that's nice. And all I think are the lives we've saved or changed. I think about that and I say, if God of all of a sudden decided, all right, you're done. I know in my heart I'm cool because we did all we could. I know that. And then we get, I don't know who the artist is on here, but we get Weapon Omega, who absorbed all the mutant powers, um, the amount of the mutant powers, and is attacking. Michael was his name, right? And then we started fighting with each other. I started. I mean, I'm sure we all started to think, is this it? Is this our lives now? Is this the thing that will define us? Is this the actual fight of our lives? And you can't help but think of your life as a test. And I know it was, because it would have been so easy to pull up our tents and go home, and no one in the world would have thought any less of us. And then we get Francis Liu's Secret Invasion, right? Sure, it looks like his artwork. But we didn't, not as individuals and not as a team. We damn well stuck to our guns. And again, if God said that's enough, I know I'll be saying to myself, all right, well, you stuck to your guns. At least you can say that. But because I asked myself, for what? What do you want from all this, really? And I'm not sure. Is this from Imperial or the Siege? I mean, because the record's here and the Wrecking Crew. This seems weird, a double page splash when we just did. Oh, there's still Raw news, so maybe there's another crossover. Freedom, liberty, sure, all that, but how will you know when you have it? Because someone came and told you? No offense, but it's not how it works. And then they're fighting the Dark Avengers, so that could be anything. We do get Akihiro as Dark Wolverine, so that's cool. And Bullseye's Dark Hawkeye. Oh yeah, this is by Billy Tan. It's just a moment in time, I suppose. Or maybe it's the Dark Avengers and Utopia and the new Avengers side of the fight. Is where we're the Avengers when our babies are being born. Those are just words, and they don't really mean anything. And I figured out the answer a while back. I realized even the globe-trotting, earth-shattering, spectacularly colorful lives that we have led, there's only one thing I want to do this entire time. Only one thing that will tell us the battle has won. The fight was over. And then we get Jimmy Chung's Children's Crusade, it looks like. I think so. There was at least the Young Avengers here, so maybe. Then we get Stuart Immerman, brand new page as we see the heroes in the civilian clothes, which I always appreciate because it's not treat them like cartoon characters. And that is one day, what day I'm going to go for a walk, a free man of convictions. And I said to myself, if I ever get to do that again, I'll know on that day we won. And there's Bucky Barnes with both human arms, Clint with Mockingbird, and Mockingbird, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Carol and Spider-Woman, practically holding hands, but maybe we can tell that. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones with baby Danielle as Peter Parker takes a picture of them, and they're all smiles. The end. Which is nice because at this point, Jessica has revealed that she had a major crush on Peter Parker in high school, and Luke Cage was like, excuse me? And because this ends that era, we're going to start the Warwick Age next with a brand new Avengers 1 with Iron Man, Thor, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, Bucky still. A cast of Secret Avengers with Nope. With Moon Knight, Black Widow, Natasha, Nova, Steve Rogers in his new shield suit, Beast, War Machine, and Valkyrie. That seems like a fun team. New Avengers #1, look who's back, baby, with Wolverine, because now that he's an Avenger, he'd be on multiple teams. Spider-Man, I guess for the same reason. Carol, Captain Miss Marvel, Luke Cage, and The Thing, and then Avengers Academy with these new kids. #1, classes in session this June with Hazmat and Reptile and Gentile, the gymnast gal, Finesse, maybe? And that one kid with a North Star like outfit. I don't know him. It's strange that there's a back cover ad of Lano for us with the premium smoked ham and a tie-in of Iron Man 2. So sure, it was an interesting time for comic book ads. Um, which I still would love to know if anyone bought a car based on seeing the back cover of a comic book ad and been like, yeah, that's a car I'll buy. What else came out? Ultimate Wolverine 5. So once again, spoilers for last week's comics. We're introduced to Ultimate Sabretooth, who's a very fun character. He is protecting uh, Ultimate Leech and Artie, and they live, but like my heart's always in my chest when I read this with, well, I guess my heart's always in my chest. What's the expression? My heart was in my throat the whole time. As after they killed Ultimate Nightcrawler and Mystique, it's like anyone could die. And then Black Widow comes in the room, which at first I was like, is that Kitty Pryde? But you can see her Widow gauntlets. So I was like, that's Natasha. We're good. And Sabretooth tries to fight Logan, which I like the storytelling of we're going to learn who Winter Soldier Logan, Ultimate Wolverine is, but by seeing how his friends react to his current state to see how far he's gone. But he's being brainwashed, but classic Wolverine stories. And we get a flashback of the time where Logan's like, hey, they're gonna want to take my body over. So if that happens, just kill me. And Sabretooth tries his best to kill him, but healing factors are hard to overcome. And that's how the issue ends with Black Widow taking the kids. So hopefully they just live, because I really don't want Birdie or Leech to die, and not when they're both together either. Um, Laura Kinney Wolverine 6. I like how the issue just opens up with Laura in this new timeline or whatever it is. It's clearly an illusion, but Gabby's with her. They're living together. Laura likes to write stories of the Wolverine. Their dad, James Howlett's there, being just an overprotective dad and nerdy as well. So I'm like, I like this James Howlett. And they're just doing family stuff. Um, and it's all nice and games, but clearly we know this isn't her world, so what is this? Oh, and the issue ends with Helverine, which I'm all for whenever Hellion and Laura are together. And then, Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider 13 was a great issue, but written by Dr. Stephanie Phillips. Um, and she writes Phoenix, of course, but I love this Phoenix. Like Jean Grey's hilarious in this book, or maybe not hilarious, but she's so fun. Um, at one point, Gwen's narrating, like using her narration boxes, and Jean's just like, "Do you always narrate your thoughts?" And it's just like, and so like she's narrating, and Jean's talking aloud into her with her narration boxes. I'm like, I like this. Give Jean Grey a teenage partner to like fight crime along with. Like I like this Jean. Way better than the Jean we've got in the last 10 issues of her own solo comic. But she's trying to be cosmic there instead of just being an older female mentor. And I guess Ghost Spider has bonded with a cosmic cube because of a different Loki, and so it looks like they dealt figured out a way for Gwen to control the cosmic cube. So I'm like, all right, that was nice. But I felt like for the last 12 issues, I got caught up on what I needed to know to enjoy this issue as I enjoyed it immensely. Storm 8, Thor's there trying to set up Thunder War. And there's a very gross scene where Black Panther and Iron Man are making fun of each other's romantic past, but they're just being gross bros about it. And Reed Richards is there just being silent because he's been happily married for, X amount of years, which, as all of our X fans know, means 10. West Coast Avengers 7 was very heavy on Simon Wonder Man. And Firestar only showed up for a panel, so I'm like, oof, this is not the comic I want. Oh, and X-Men 16, we're introduced to a new 3K has their own team of X-Men who want to be recognized as legit, which I'm like, it's super easy to be a legit X-Men team. You just pretty much need to find a camera and a microphone and say, hey, we're extraordinary X-Men, and then people just start calling you extraordinary X-Men, and that's what happens. Like, you don't have to fight Cyclops for it. I mean, yeah, he won't love the branding confusion, but sure. Like, pick a different state so we can have Alaskan, Illinois, and um, Alaska. Oh, Louisiana. That's what I meant. Speaking of Illinois, we got a new American, or we got a new pope, and he's an American. I've seen his brother do some interviews, and he lives in Florida, and that has to be crazy to be like, yeah, my brother's pope. What up? And he's just correcting stuff. Like now we know the Pope's a fan of the White Sox instead of the Bet Cubs. So I'm just like, oh man, you kind of like the Cubs. But, you know, and he's Pope Leo, which is nice that people just accepted his name change there. So don't dead name him, y'all. I think we can do it. X-Men 16. Oh, M- Magic cut off one of these guys' hands. These new X-Men are the combination of the six adult New Mutants, but not those New Mutants from the first several issues. And now they are calling themselves the X-Men, and Magic wants to cut off the other guy's arm. So that's a fun little continuity nod. And um, Mm. oh, and Piper's twin sister, who now has a Canty body, might be joining these X-Men as she proves herself. And so, yeah. And they printed an issue, one of my letters again. So I'm like, hey, now I gotta buy this issue. And I'm trying to win bids on eBay, but I keep being outbid out of what I want. But it's not really the cover I want because Magic's on the Aka cover, but it's well, not very expensive, but I don't want to spend 15 bucks for it. So probably on payday Wednesday, see what comics or whatever the cheapest cover I can get. The one of them was Alex Ross Carol Danvers cover, so I'm like, I really don't want that one, but I keep seeing that one's very cheap. I wouldn't mind getting the Daughterman Cyclops costume gallery cover, which he just announced that, not just, like a couple of days ago, he announced that he's doing a Magic issue 8 Magic gallery cover. So, that's the cover I'm gonna get for sure for August. August is also giving us the Age of Apocalypse reunion series by Jeff Loeb, which they're going to tease the back of the giant size Age of Apocalypse one shot. So if Ultimate Shadowcat's there, I'd be a lot more on board. But since she died at the end of that story and wasn't revived in the revisits, who knows what's going to happen? But also, Miss Marvel shows up, so maybe she stops Colossus from running over his wife in that timeline. So, yeah. Speaking of comics out on Wednesday. We're gonna get Godzilla versus X-Men 1 set in the 90s though, so unless Excalibur shows up, I don't know if I'm gonna want to get that. Wolverine 6, One War Under Doom 4, where Domanu shows up. Phoenix 11, which I thought was supposed to be a crossover with Spider-Gwen, but maybe she makes a guest appearance as well. Uncanny X-Men 14, we're going to find out more about that one lady from the racist Louisiana era, and then the Outliers going down that tunnel in the lake. So it's like, all right, I'm excited about that. Wolverine 9, where we explore his mommy issues. X Factor 10, the final issue, as we see what Archangel is going to do to Polaris. And then Ultimate X-Men 15 comes out, and yeah, it's just going to be Peach Momoko and Zach, um, doing his amazing translations. And yeah, so what's it, 3, 6, 8 books. So on Tuesday, I want to figure out which one of these I gotta, you know, group them up. But I mean, I'm excited about Godzilla versus X-Men. I'm just bummed it's set in the 90s. And Uncanny X-Men 14 to be high, and Ultimate X-Men 15 for top three. So yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. Oh, I meant to transition this earlier about Mother's Day, but happy Mother's Day to everyone who is a mother or is a mother or has a sister who's a mother. Just any mothers. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. I made two different videos today promoting Teresa Terry Pride and her ultimate counterpart is Teresa Pride. She never got informal with it. And so everyone, thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. All right, everyone, bye.